Busana, the bone of contention are the funds that are being allocated for the development. As a Senate, do you think we really need these funds both for you as senators and them as National Assembly representatives?
Thank you very much. Like I said yesterday, we need it, but it is not a must. I said we need it because having served as a senator, this is now my third term, I know for a fact that we can be more effective as senators if we had a kitty that ensured that we have better capacity in our offices to carry out our duties, our constitutional mandate actually in holding governors to account for the funds that have been sent to the devolved unit, and ensuring that we just don't sit in Senate and await the Auditor General to carry out an audit process of perhaps maybe 1 or 2 financial years that have passed. If we had the resources that will allow us to check on the budgeting process and have detailed study of some of the development plans that are being laid out, would make the role of Senate more effective. However, we have since argued that that could be done either as an individual senator of a particular county or corporately by enriching Senate through this capacity to be able to hire professionals actually who can do this job alongside that of the elected senators. However, is not the key priority of what we are discussing here. What we came to do here is capacity building for members of parliament. This training is being run by CPA, Commonwealth Parliamentary Association, a gathering or a union of all the Commonwealth Parliament that borrowed from the Westminster model, ensuring that the new members get to appreciate what are their roles, what are their duties, what is expected of you as a member of the Senate, what are your powers, what are your privileges, what are the responsibilities of you, how you can become effective as a legislator, how to craft your bills. So it's a very necessary training that you're giving to members of parliament, and it's not just something for new members of parliament, it's something that even those of us that have been around long enough continue to learn and become better at what we do. So it's an immense privilege to be here. I wish my colleagues well as they listen in, as they learn and become better at what they're doing.
Okay, the Deputy President is expected here at around 2. What exactly do you want to hear from him? Because it is very paramount that the executive have a seamless relationship with the oversight bodies, both at the Senate and at the National Assembly. But what are the key issues perhaps you expect him to touch on?
The Deputy President constitutionally is the chair of IBEC, Intergovernmental Budget Economic Council. He plays a very critical role in terms of the relationship between the county governments, the national government, and now us as parliament, especially Senate, which is a body that represents counties and serves to protect their interest. Him coming here will be good to hear the reasoning of the recommendations that they have so far made in IBEC, craft a picture of what is happening, what are the challenges that are expected, why, for example, when governors are demanding, I've seen figures of 450 and things like that, whether is it possible, is it not possible, what better model can be availed to manage these challenges. Many county governments are actually receiving about funds for the month of October and November, while we are now in February. You know, what is the challenge? When do we intend to catch up? How will we ensure that devolved units actually don't continue to borrow heavily? So this is a very a live conversation actually that we want to have with him and hear what are the proposals, what is it that Senate in his thoughts he thinks Senate ought to do better, hold governors to account, and as we pass our laws, ensure. Of course, we want to hear about the promise that the president made in his inaugural speech on the 15th of September about transfer of functions, all the remaining functions in 6 months' time. So what is the latest from ITGRC, which is a statutory body that's carrying out this responsibility? They give these reports in IBEC. There are challenges to do so with roads. which we hear county governors felt that needs to be managed better. So it will be an extremely interactive session, and we want to hear from them so that we learn all these things.
Yesterday, the governors were demanding for an increment in their budget allocations. We also have seen that the MCAs are also demanding the Ward Development Fund. If Senate goes ahead and also agrees with the National Treasury to increase these monies, and if has the Ward Development Fund also been catered for, or what are the provisions to enact that particular fund, and also what are your sentiments in the increment that these governors are expecting that the National Treasury do the needful?
There's no harm in them demanding. It's the nature of the budget process. It's supposed to be a tense moment. I need this, I need the other. But the reality and the decision maker is finally with us, members of parliament. The decision is between Senate and National Assembly, both for vertical and horizontal distribution of these resources. So there's nothing wrong with governors demanding. However, it's good that they live also closer to reality and understand the financial, the situation of our economy and the challenges that we continue to face presently. They are aware that we're not doing well. We are not collecting sufficient revenue as is expected. Therefore, even as we grow in terms of these programs, we need to know what is it that can be done better, either jointly or cheaply, actually, because at the end of the day, we serve the same people, both at the county and national levels. So,
do you think they're being too ambitious in their ask?
Of course, 450 is a bit on the higher side, but it's not to say that it's not something that can be done. Unfortunately, until we have complete ITGRC, that's complete costing of all the functions of that have been transferred to the counties, we are not able to tell up to this particular point what is the exact, or what will be an exact justified demand from county governments. We just keep on toying with figures saying, 450, 430. What are we measuring it against? You must remember that the mantra has always been resources needs to follow functions. So until we do a proper costing of all these functions is when we'll have a conversation about how much is justified on this particular financial year. There will never be a time, and this is the same in all democracies across the world, where there's federal and county governments, where you'd say that we have reached a point of agreement and now what you're sharing. There has to be this push and pull, and it's good and healthy for the people. But again, we must ensure that we as Parliament play a neutral adjudication role in ensuring that both levels of government get what is rightfully theirs.
Finally, even as the Deputy President comes, I'm sure he's expecting to go with a response to the members of Parliament on the other side in Pride on whether or not you share the same sentiments in making sure that the CDF funds or any other fund, be it the Senate, the Ward Development, is enshrined in the Constitution. And I'm sure even in your remarks you will happen to mention that. What is one reply that the Deputy President seemingly will have to move over with?
We are not opposed, but it must be done respectfully. Like I said yesterday, this conversation must be done in an atmosphere of mutual respect between both houses. It should not appear as if one house is talking down on the other. That's the spirit with which the President has guided us. That's a spirit which I hope we can adapt this term so that we stop this push and pull. Nobody, I think, in their right mind will argue for or against the impact of CDF. But then you can't compare CDF, which has been established for over close to 20 years now, and Senate Oversight Fund, which is yet to be established on what is important. Who knows? And I strongly believe that if this fund is set up for the Senate, then we will see better fruits of from the devolved funds in our devolved units. So this is comparison between apples and oranges. So just as we listen to them on how they hold CDF being an important factor that allows them to do their job effectively, we expect that they listen to us also with the same breath.
How much do you need for the Senate Oversight Fund?
No, it's not a question question of how much. It's on the how and what exactly the fund is supposed to be. I don't want to place a figure because we have a problem in this country where we always reduce every conversation to be about how much and not